oh, it turns out Hyde Boar's behind everything. It turns out that he's a high one. They're similar to the Twisted, but they're not quite the Twisted. They're the high ones. Hyde somehow knows the Grand Babel is capable of time travel. He wanted access to the time travel device that was in the Grand Babel. He wanted to go back in time. To time zero. Yep. A time beyond time. All we know about time zero is that it is the origin point of the Twisted and of everything that happens in the game so far. Time zero is the day of Aya Brea's wedding to Kyle Madigan. Time zero is a time beyond time, which is Christmas Eve. That's a time. It's not a time beyond time. It's an actual time.
It's very specific, too.
Yeah.
He orchestrated everything, apparently, to get to this point in time. For some reason, a SWAT team busts in and shoots them up. We have no idea why. Eve wanted to so desperately save her older sister. Her older sister, Eve is really Aya's clone.
Yeah.
Which was established,
which is not made clear in Third Birthday.
Which is never mentioned in Third Birthday. But these are events that happen in Parasite Eve 2. At the end of that game, Kyle and Eve and Aya just kind of, they go off. They have some kind of life together. This is the results of what happens in Parasite Eve 2. This is Parasite Eve 3. 10 years later, they're finally getting married. Yes.
What are they doing, Kyle? Put a ring on it. Jesus Christ. Eve dives into Aya so hard that Aya's soul shatters.
So the whole game, you're not playing as Aya.
You're playing as Eve.
You're playing as Eve. That's why she's a timid little, wussy, submissive dope.
Aya's soul shatters, and the pieces of Aya's soul go throughout time and space. The pieces of Aya's soul become the Twisted. Because Aya's soul is a bunch of fucking monsters. Eve dives into Aya's body. Aya's soul is broken, which leaves Eve's body, which is like empty, and her empty body somehow causes the creation.
It's Kingdom Hearts.
Hold on. I'm trying to stick to the logic the game sets out. Causes the creation of the High Ones inside at the wedding. The Twisted and the High Ones are created in one fell swoop. But let's say that does make sense. Souls can become monsters, and non-souls can become other different kinds of monsters that are also people. But the people don't know that they're monsters until you have to fight them. Hyde knows all this. This is why he tells us this. Hyde is monologuing to Eve, and Eve has dived back into her own body somehow. So Eve is there in her own body, Hyde is there in his own body, Aya's like empty shell is on the floor, and Kyle is like dead on the floor. Hyde came back so he could join Eve, so that he could also possess the power to dive, or like assume that consciousness, childhood's end, Evangelion, whatever.
He wants to evolve, right?
Into a new species. I think he actually says that.
Yes.
Just like every crazy guy in a Japanese fiction.
Freaking story since Eva, right?
However, Aya's body suddenly wakes up and is like, nuh-uh, and shoots Hyde.
Yes, the one time the real Aya, who we've all been waiting for, shows up in a cutscene covered in blood and shoots the bad guy.
And also she has her gun at her wedding, which, she's Aya. That's a possibility. I don't know where she put it. Not only does the story blow compared to other stories, I don't think it is even consistent in its own logic. Let me explain this. Hyde explains everything that we know about the ending. He explains the existence of the Twisted, the High Ones. He explains that they build the Grand Babel so they could go back to Time Zero themselves. No one really knows why Aya gets up, why she comes back and is like, I'll shoot you, Hyde, and then shoots him. The explanation that I've seen, and the only one that makes sense, is that the Twisted are going back to Time Zero to return to Aya. That is the only way she could come back, is that they make it. They go through the time stream and reach Time Zero, and Aya revives, suddenly up to speed.
Where is that even mentioned in the... What evidence is there?
The Twisted want to time travel. They're going back to Time Zero. Aya was made from the Twisted.
Yeah.
Like, that's it.
Right.
That must be true. It's the only thing that makes sense to me why Aya gets up, aside from just the script says so, which could be the only reason.
What about Kyle? How come he gets up and knows everything? Well, even when the time stream is supposedly reset.
What I'm saying is that, how could Hyde not know that Aya would get up and shoot him if he knows that the Twisted are going back to Time Zero, and he knows that the Twisted are pieces of Aya? Because that's the reason he's going back, is to go back to his origin. To go back to the piece that he was broken off of Eve so he could join Eve. Why would he think the Twisted weren't doing that when they were the one that built the Grand Babel that goes back in time to begin with? It's because he's retarded, and so are the people that made him. That is it. That is your reason. There's also no reason for the SWAT team. Not even the people who like the game can attest to that. Now, Aya is back now.
And she's like, you know what? Here's how you're gonna fix things. You gotta shoot me right here, in the chest. And she's like, I can't do that! that? And Aya's like, of course you can.
Be a man.
Be a man. Be like me, the sister you idolize, because I'm tough and strong, and the character you wanted to play as the entire goddamn time. I don't know what's going on. What's happening? What is this? How should I feel? What is this shit? Oh, I have to kill Aya. Okay. Am I shooting Eve or Aya or who am I shooting?
The idea is that first Eve is in Eve's body and Aya's in Aya's body, and Aya has the gun. They switch bodies again. This time it works. Eve dives into Aya's body, and Aya is then in Eve's body. Which doesn't really jive with the rest of the game. Like,
no, well, not at all.
Because the soldiers don't like switch bodies. Like, you just are in them.
But in some weird cinematic cutscene, they just hug each other, swing around, and they're in a different body.
So this thing happens. There's a crosshair on her heart.
Aya Bray on the bottom right for one life bar, dived in the other. Assuming, of course, you're Eve.
Anyway, Aya, who is in Eve's body, and that must be weird for everyone involved, dies when you shoot her. The idea being that before the Twist and the High Ones are created, if you kill Aya, then her soul can't shatter, so the Twisted aren't created, neither of the High Ones. It makes you wonder why they can't just, not dive into each other, so none of that happens, and...
like, why not prevent that?
Why not prevent that? Why not prevent having to do that? But they don't. Eve in Aya's body goes over to Kyle, and Hyde is, like, dead, or his body is gone. He falls off screen. He's dead.
So that guy who gets shot stays dead.
Yeah.
Aya and Kyle come back.
Like, Aya's monologuing to you, I'm gonna be with you, Eve, don't worry. But as a player, you're like, no, I shot you dead. Like, your soul was in a body, and then I killed that body. And probably the soul with it, too, unless you dived somewhere.
And I thought I was you the entire 12 to 15 hours of the game.
Aya's like a stranger. Like, she comes in and is like, I'm like, who are you? All you get of Aya's character is that she was marrying Kyle, and she brings her gun to her wedding. I don't know.